right, so what I'm gonna have you guys do is draw this picture here. And there's different ways to start the drawing. One way that I kind of focus on is, I look at the composition. So it's already kind of has a white frame around it. So the white frame is kind of like a viewfinder. And then I have some crosshairs going across it, so it divides the picture, so that the sides of it are divided and the top is divided, so you can tell where the middle is. So the first thing what I do is, if this is my piece of paper, I look at it, I've got my middle, right about there, and this is my middle here and there, right, on my paper. And then I start to look at negative space, because the first thing I want to do is I just want to lay out the composition and get everything kind of in the drawing to start. So what I do is I look over here, and I'm seeing like right over here, I see the negative space at the bottom of the cup, and it seems like it's a good spot because I've got the napkin dividing that, and then it's got that little triangle shape there. So what I'll do is I'll look at it, and it's just below the midline, and then I come across here, and I go out to some point that goes, well, it's gonna go beyond halfway, right? So I gotta draw that line at least beyond halfway. And then it kind of swoops up, and then that cup is here. And I look at the bottom of the cup, and then the handle comes out to there. So I'm looking at that, and I have this negative space here in the bottom of the cup. And then I go up here, and it's close to the top, and I look at the handle comes up, I draw that line, and then I've got the top of the cup, and then I look down, and I see that that's gonna line up there, right, hopefully. And then I have that part of it, and then I just kind of go across, and I can kind of look and see how big things are. I can come across here, and I can, what happens is I look at so I drew the first side that has that cup, and it's about that big, and then I look at the muffin, I go, well, you know what, the muffin is roughly the same size. So if I take a measurement, right, and I go over to it, and I go, that's that big, and then I go over to that one, and it's roughly the same size. So I know when I draw this, I need to make them relatively the same size. I can look at that space that's over there next to the muffin, so it's closer to the middle, right? So I can look on the other side here, and I can look at this here, and the top of the muffin comes up, and then comes down, and the dish is over here. What's that line? That line must have been the dish that I was drawing. It comes down a little further. And it's not perfect right now, but it's just an idea of where things possibly could be. And I look at the size of that muffin, and that are relatively close in size. I think the muffin right now is a little bit bigger, and it's going over halfway, so it should be like to there, right? And this maybe would come to here. So I made some changes, right? I'm not getting crazy about it. I'm looking down at the bottom now, and I'm trying to see like how this looks over here. So this is my side here, and it goes down to about, if I figure out where halfway is in this a quarter of the way is, where is that? So it looks like it's about here, right? And then that's where the napkin ends, and I know that it comes straight across to over there. So I can draw a line like that. I can look at the negative space in between the two things here. I can look at the space over there, right? So I'm over here, and I'm looking at this shape of the spoon here, the bottom of the spoon, and then I come across, and I notice that this is lined up here, and it just goes over. It's gonna go over and come down and up. Looks like I got too much space. This must be higher up. Right, and I can make those changes. And this is gonna be higher up too. And I notice how I didn't erase this first. I waited till I've got this drawing here of this done, and then I can erase that out, because I wanna use that as a reference, because I thought about it in my head to see what it would look like, and I kinda know what it's gonna look like. Or at least a rough estimate of what it's gonna look like, so I don't have to think too much about it. It's like I see an angle that it's more like that, right? So I'm looking at that shape right there. this negative space right here and seeing that that's similar to what's on the thing. I can look at this here. I can look at where this is, right, where I made that line up over here, and I noticed that the knife is almost lined up with the muffin, right? So is that lined up? Yeah, it looks pretty good right there, right? I can put in the bottom of the muffin here has a little thing that looks like that, right? And then it comes down. I can look at part of the shape of the muffin and that it's rounded on the bottom. It's got sides, right? I can look at the cup here. How big is that? Whatever there's a curve, the opposite side's gonna have a very similar curve to it. So it's gonna be that this curve here will be similar to this curve here, right? So it's got the same like shape to it. I can look at the negative space over here that I have, that I'm really messing up on. This lines up with, oh, look at that. This should be over, lined up with the cup, right? This is gonna have to be fixed here. That lines up with that, right? And then this comes down, goes up, right? So I can kind of fix that, but at least I got that there. This is gonna come in. I'm not gonna get into that. So I got my negatives, I got that shape there. This is gonna go like that. Where does this line up with here? This lines up with, like if I draw a line right across here, right? What does that line up with? I can look and see. It lines up with, the bottom of that lines up with that handle part. So this is gonna line up with that, right? So I'm looking at that. This looks like it's a little bit high, right? So I have some basic things in there. I'm gonna look at the spoon here and how that goes up. And I look at the negative space in between here, right? I'm looking at the negative space in between the two pieces there. So if I try to draw that, I go up and go like this. And this one here is gonna go up. It's tough to talk and draw at the same time. I look at these little corners right here. If I point to them, this would be better. If I look at this point right here, this corner right here, and I look at that corner right there in the spoon, and it helps me to see right there, and I look at the other side, and this goes up and over. And I look to see how that looks. And then I can come down, this comes up and goes down like that, which is this goes like this. Right? I look at the space between here and here. I look at where this lines up with. This lines up with, this comes around. And then the knife is gonna get thicker as it comes down here. Right? This dish goes over. Right? So I can kind of keep looking at things and fixing things as I'm going around and erasing things and kind of trying to fix things and looking at negative space. And I look for alignment, like where things align. Like is there anything else that I need to look at that could align with something? Maybe the bottom of this. Where does that line up with? Where does we looked at that. So where does this line up with? It goes below. It looks like it goes below the things there. So this must come down a little bit, right? And this comes down a little bit. Right? So I can fix things, right? So I keep looking at things and I keep looking to see if things are lined up. How's this space looking here? I look at that space and does that look like the one over there? Maybe this goes up higher over here, this space in there, right? So I'm constantly kind of looking at stuff and making sure things look right. This spoon handle looks almost too big to me in comparison to the picture, so I might want to try to thin that out. right? And I can get rid of that stuff because that would be that negative space thing. And then there's the napkin kind of has this thing here, right? Goes up there or something. You don't need to draw in the lines for the table. That's not important. But, you know, actually, this does look like it should come down more. Why is that fighting me? This is the inside of it. This is that part of it, right? So that's drawing the mug. So that's just trying to set me up. And then I can, you know, after that, I can keep fixing things and I can start shading things. But make sure that everything is drawn in before I start doing any kind of other stuff to it. And then we'll work from there. All right.